Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Metal Motorcast. This is your host, Dave. And I got online special guest, drag racer Georgina Buckley. How you doing, Georgina?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. The weather's a little bit warmer, so
Uh,
get little bit of taste of spring now.
yeah, a little bit.
Kind of rainy out there.
A little bit, but at least it's warmer, right? We got to take something, right? Got to hold on to something here.
Yeah, hopefully no more snow comes down.
Don't say that. Don't say that, man.
I said hopefully no more.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Can't handle any more this winter.
All right. So first question I got for Georgina, how did it all begin for you to get into drag racing?
Um, it's kind of a funny-ish, I guess, story. When I was a kid, my brothers were into cars, quote unquote gearheads. And they used to pull stunts where they would put me in the back seat of the cars and then, drive around. When I say drive, I obviously mean speeding around and doing donuts and items such as that. And actually, believe it or not, I know they were supposed to be terrorizing me, and it kind of had the reverse effect, and I really enjoyed it a lot. And then fast forward years later, met my husband, and he had a dream car. He always wanted an '85 Mustang, and he got it. And from there, it kind of graduated, up to where we are now with the whole drag racing.
So what year did you begin drag racing?
Actually, I obtained my NHRA license in 2009, but David and I have been doing it together 26 years. 26 years.
So now, after all these years, what still keeps you passionate about drag racing?
That's a really good question. You know what? It just the whole package. I love being in the car. I can sit in the car by myself and be the happiest person on the face of the earth. I love making the pass down the drag strip. I love the camaraderie at the drag strip, the friends, the quote unquote family that you make from the drag strip. It's just everything. And I'm having so much fun that I just could never imagine giving this up.
Now, after that big accident in 2016, what did it take to overcome your injuries?
You know what? My injuries, my physical injuries, that's just matter of time healing. I still have some side effects from that every now and then. The cold will affect me. I had the 6 broken ribs. I broke my chest plate, bit my tongue to the point where I almost severed it and had the severe concussion. So the weather will affect me every now and then. Physically, other than the weather, I'm good. Emotionally, it was a whole different roller coaster. I don't remember the accident. I still don't remember the accident. The last thing I remember is leaving the starting line. I was unconscious when they got to me. Came around, I was talking, kept asking the same questions over and over again. I didn't start connecting the dots until I was at the first hospital, and even at that, there's still pieces, chunks missing, from the first week even to 2 weeks after the accident. It was more the emotional. For me, it was that car. We had an emotional attachment to that car. My husband and I used to deliver pizzas in that car back in the day. He used to manage a restaurant, local restaurant here, and we used to go out and deliver pizzas. And it started as a street car, and we, built it together over the years and built our passion for drag racing. So it was that aspect that took me a long time to, I don't want to say get over it because I'm not over it. I don't get used to it's not the right phrase either, but maybe to adjust to it. When we had to make the decision to crush the car, that it couldn't be repaired, it couldn't be saved, that was a very heart-wrenching day. And I still will have at least one moment every day when I think to myself about how I set our racing program back with that accident. I know people tell me the accident's not my fault. It could have been lessened had I made different decisions. I can't tell you why I made the decisions I made at the time because I don't remember it. I could have made different decisions. It could have lessened the accident. I take full responsibility for that. But it's been the emotional roller coaster afterwards. Like I said, just, having to give up that car, watching it leave, watching it go into the crusher was just heart-wrenching. Again, knowing what I did to our program, knowing what I put my husband through and our friends and family, and at no point has anybody that's close enough to me that knows me, have they ever made me feel like I've ever done anything wrong, that, have always been very supportive of me. But there have been those out there who have not been supportive and have made the comments and have caused situations or issues because of my accident and put me in awkward positions, uncomfortable positions because of it. And those, again, it's an emotional roller coaster that gets to you.
Right. So now what was it? A stuck throttle?
Yeah, my throttle had hung open, and I did have a tow hook on the gas pedal. I like to think that what I was, quote unquote, thinking at the time was that I would unhook the throttle. I knew what to do, so I was trying to unhook the throttle with my right foot, had my left foot on the brake, knowing that we were at Norwalk. I knew how much of a shutdown, the length of the shutdown I had. I knew I had plenty of room, and I was thinking I could probably just pop it back, no big deal, but obviously my foot was a little bit too heavy on the brake, and when the throttle unstuck, the brakes locked up and that foot shot me into the wall. So, hindsight being 2020, I should have just killed all the power in the car and pulled the chutes. But, again, it's hindsight, and that's what I call it, 2020. So,
yeah, it's hard to know what reaction you're gonna do at that last second.
Yeah. It just, I know I was using some profanity. I could tell you that because where my bite marks are in my tongue is exactly what I know what I was saying was not nice. At that moment, because I actually have a scar in my tongue where my teeth went into my tongue. But, everything happens for a reason. They say we never know what that reason is or understand it. But, I'm here today. I'm walking around. My safety gear did its job. The car was very well built. My husband built the car, and by the grace of God, I'm here walking around, and I'm able to talk about it. And we took some things away from that accident, too, that we've I don't really want to say upgraded into my new car. I have a master power switch now inside the car that's right next to my shifter, so I can just kill the master power. I also have what I call it an oh shit button on my steering wheel, that if I do get into that situation and I don't feel I can reach the master power switch, I can hit the button and it'll kill the power and launch the parachutes at the same time. So, hopefully I'll never have to go through that again, but...
Yeah, knock on wood.
Right?
So what made you decide to get back into drag racing again after that happened?
It never dawned on me not to. I never had a doubt in my mind I wanted to get back in the car. Matter of fact, my husband had even told me not long after the accident was in August, he told me in October that if I was physically up to it, he would let me drive his car. Now, downside being, I can't see over his dash or reach his pedals, but he was willing to make the adjustments that were needed so that I could get back into the car. But at that point, he was racing, and I didn't want to take away from him. Plus, with 6 broken ribs, it just was a little difficult, climbing in and out of a cage. But it never crossed my mind not to get back into a car, not to drag race. That when we had the new car sitting here, I actually went out in the garage every night and sat in the car car's a different setup, different shifter, different switch panel, and I actually ran through mentally as well as physically. The car was not running at that time, but ran through, what my starting line routine was going to be with the new switch panel, with the new shifter, and just did that every night over and over again because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get back in the car. I didn't know how I was going to react the minute the car started, and the first time we started the car in the garage, I'm not going to lie, I had tears of joy. I did cry. It was awesome. And then we had the car at the Drag Expo last year at the Cordova booth, and we were pushing the car out, and it was just kind of starting to be a hassle. My husband said to me, he says, just start the car. You can drive it out and drive it to the trailer. And I may have knocked some people over trying to get to the driver's seat of the car as I ran around the car because I was so excited. And I drove the car out to the trailer, and I think I scared some people because I was jumping around, hooting and hollering, and there was other people, pulling their boosts down, moving their cars out and stuff, and they were looking at me, and I'm like, you don't understand, I haven't driven a car, and at that point, well over a year and a half, and it felt so great. There was never a doubt in my mind that I would ever want to get back in the car again and do it again.
So now tell us a little bit about the new car.
I love the new car. It's an '05 Mustang. Has some history. A lot of people know who Amanda Howe is. Used to go by the name Puddin'. It was actually originally her car. When she had it, if I remember correctly, had been well over 200 miles in that car. That car then, had sold, and the gentleman that my husband and I bought it from, I believe it was the second or third owner of the car, and we just happened to stumble across it on Facebook. Actually, my husband did, and he sent me the ads, and he asked me what I thought, and thought, well, let's get it. I mean, how can you pass up? It was a great deal. It was a roller. And we just, built the car. Well, the car was built, let me correct myself. We made some adjustments to the car just for me. We added the Race Tech seat, which is more of a wraparound seat, which will take the place of the ISD padding, which I did not have in the old car, which we talked about, which is, an upgrade for me because I definitely need that because, racking my head in the car, as I did from the accident. And then we did other things, like I've got the M&M shifter in there, and we sat down and sat me in the car and just, positioned it exactly where it should be for me, what was good for me. Same thing with the parachute lever. The old car I inherited from David, we made adjustments to the car, but not specific just to me, because the old car Dave and I used to share. We actually both raced the car for 1 year at different events. So I just love this car. It's wider, it's bigger. I call it Big Bertha because it is. It's huge compared to Fox body. But I love it. It's like driving a Cadillac. It took a little bit of getting used to. Handles a little bit different. Again, got the wider stance, a longer body. But I absolutely love it. I'm so glad we got it.
And that's a twin nitrous, right?
It's a nitrous car, yeah. I'm a holdout. I'm a hanger-oner. Can't give up my nitrous.
Now, the car that you wrecked, that one was up running on nitrous too?
Yep, the old car was nitrous too. Actually, this is pretty much the same motor. The old car had a 588 big block Chevy. This is a 582 big block Chevy motor, and then with the nitrous, it's carbureted.
So now, last year, how many events did you run with the new car?
I did the River Redemption Series at Cordova, which we will be doing again this year. I ran the 470 class. I also made one NMCA event, which was Joliet, the Super Bowl. I ran the NPS class at that time. But the plan is this year to, again, we're going to run the Cordova, the 470 class. I like beating up or trying to beat up on my friend Jerry, the Greek. Try to, someday I'm going to beat him in a round of racing, but until then I'll still give it my all. And then we're also going to run NMCA events. I'm actually going to commit to Extreme Street for sure this year, which is, we're making some small changes to the car now. And we will be running, we're going to do Tyler Crossnose event at Bowling Green. It's the second week of April. So we're going to shoot for some other events such as Tyler's. I know there's, the showdown, which used to be at Norwalk. I apologize. I think they might be moving that to Virginia Motorsports Park. I forget. But there's other events that I have on the calendar that we'll be running with my car. And then fingers crossed, the plan is to also have, David's car done here. So we'll be running events. I'll be running the class events and he'll be running no time events. So maybe hopefully we'll have them both out at Cordova. Be pretty interesting if we do.
So how did you do last year with the two events?
I did, for my first year back, not knowing the car, we took baby steps. I did good. I didn't win anything, but I'm okay with that because my biggest concern was I just wanted to make sure I got, I was comfortable in the car, got back in the car, figured out how it handled, and just have a good time. I just want to have fun.
So what's the fastest time you've had on a car out of those two events?
With this car, I've been a 480. Was really trying to get into the 70s last year, but just didn't happen. It was close, but no cigar. With the old car, I had been low 460s, 463. So that's my goal, is to get back to that point this summer.
So now, with the days of sexism long gone, thanks to a lot of great female drivers that have been in drag racing, however, I'm sure it still exists from time to time. What's it like to be the guy in drag racing, and what kind of advice can you give the young female drivers of the future that might be intimidated?
I have to say, don't be intimidated. Go out there. Do you, be you, do your thing. Don't let anybody intimidate you. I have been pretty fortunate and lucky and blessed with the fact that most of the guys I race with, most of the people I've raced with or against, have been pretty good with me, pretty cool. There have been some situations, up at Union Grove, I ran there a few years ago where I did beat somebody and he, wouldn't even get out of his car and acknowledge my existence, and just feel back. But you know what? You gotta learn not to let that get to you. It is what it is. He's a sore loser, and I like to think it's not because I'm a woman, but if it is, so be it. You know what? His loss. He didn't take the time to get to know me. That's his loss, not mine.
Yeah. Drag racing is supposed to be one big happy family.
It really is. It's like anything else. You've got, a couple people out there that just, I don't say sticks in the mud. They're just no fun. And, I feel sorry for them in a sense because, like you said, it is supposed to be one big happy family. You have a good time. I mean, last year at Cordova, anybody who went to that event knew at the end of the night, everybody was there to help everybody. It didn't make a difference what class you were in. But at the end of the night, you pulled your girls out basically into the middle of the pits and you hung out and you had a good time and everybody cooked together. Us, the Greeks, Steve Roden with Wally, they were there, and Andy Esri and Kathleen. Just some examples. We just all hung out and had a good time and it was great. And we all knew we were there for each other and it was fun.
Yeah. So now, when you first started getting into drag racing, were there any drivers that inspired you out there?
I'm gonna have to say, my husband for sure. He inspired me. He motivated me. there's so many that 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 were out there that I idolized. I'd have to say anybody who pretty much knows me well enough knows that Mike Murillo, and I'm not saying this because he's been on the show, but we've known Mike Murillo for 20-something years, and I've always idolized Mike. He's my hero, so to speak. I can't tell you why. It's just something about him, his car, the way he drives, the way he handles himself. Somebody I tried to inspire to be like.
All right. So now, what was it like for you to get behind the wheel for the first time and go down the drag strip?
The very first time?
Yeah.
I'm going to say I know I was a little bit nervous. Tooling around on the street is one thing. Getting into a car on the strip was another thing. I still have the time slip to this day. I mean, it was before 2009. I ran a 12.99 a quarter mile. I thought it was the coolest thing, the hottest shit out there, right? I went, woo, right? But it was kind of nerve-wracking, too, because I didn't know what to expect. It's one thing when you're standing on the start line. When you're the crew, so to speak, you know what happens in the pits. You know what happens on the start line. Going down the track until you actually do that and experience, you're really not sure what to expect. Even now, it's still, you've got a baseline. But back then, I was definitely a little nervous. I had a friend of ours at the time who actually rode with me, and I'll never forget it. We're motoring down the track, and I see water start to come up under the windshield, just some sprinkles, some droplets, and we're almost at the end, 13:20, and I'm like, I said to him, "There's water." He's like, "Don't lift, stay in it." And as it turned out, it was nothing major, but I was all ready to be like, "Oh my God," but I've been hooked ever since.
So now with the old car, the one that wrecked, was the fastest you went with that car?
463 was the fastest. That was actually down in Ohio Valley. I had been mid to low 460s throughout the rest of that season. We had actually made some changes to that car during the summer of 2016 and had slowed down a little bit, but we were making steps forward. Actually, that weekend at Norwalk, had gotten back into the 60s. I ran a 69 actually the weekend I wrecked, or actually the pass I wrecked, and the goal was we were trying to get into the, get a 59 out of the car that weekend. So.
Now, besides your husband, do you have any other crew members?
Basically, it's just my husband and I. We have some friends that do help out, from time to time. We've got Kevin Conley, people call him the plumber. He's helped us a bunch over the years. His son, some people call him Junior. I call him Mini because he looks just like Kevin. He's gone racing with us, and he's helped us out over the years. We've had, some other people that have come and helped us, but pretty much it's just my husband and myself. And again, with the racing community, when you go someplace that, if you need anything, anybody's going to be there. Like I was saying earlier, the greats have helped us out a few times at the Cordova events. We've been at Joliet. The McCarthy crew had helped us in the past when we were running at MCA. So, but for the most part, it's just my husband and myself.
Now, do you have any sponsors for the car?
I do. I have Rage Wraps, who actually wrapped the car, which is Phil Delaney. CIT, which is Gino Cavallo. He actually had done a sponsorship with my parachute. I'd always wanted with my old car, wanted a yellow parachute, and he did that. And then we've just, we've got some others. We've got the TXT Racewear, which is they do the fireproof undergarments. We hooked up with them at PRI. They're supporting us this year. They do fire retardant, actually sports bras for women, which is a big deal. They have the tank tops with the built-in sports bra, but they also do fire socks. They have gloves, head socks, the long sleeve shirts if you're running alcohol. And then, Mentor Motorsports, they always take care of us with our shocks needs. I've known them for years. And then Robert Lane with Fast Lane Nitrous Systems.
Now, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions at all?
You know what? I don't. And I've always kind of wondered if, I should, because I see, there's people out there that do, but no, I don't. I mean, the only thing I guess I could say is, no, I don't. I mean, I like to sit in my car and just kind of be quiet and still, for a minute or two, in the staging lanes by myself. I'm okay like that. But that's not really a superstition. I don't have to do that. If, it's last minute and I'm rushed, it is what it is. I still make sure I go through my checklist in my head of everything I need to make sure I do before I call out. But no, I don't wear two different color socks or cross my eyes or something before or after a pass.
All right. Now, what goes into preparation to get the car ready for a weekend of drag racing?
Well, for us, we make sure that the trailer's stocked, which would be fuel and in my case nitrous. And then, you got to get the car loaded and you want to make sure, everything's buttoned down in the car. Oil's changed, new spark plugs, transmission fluid is good to go. We get the car loaded up, and then, so for us, we have an RV, so I make sure that the RV is stocked up too. Since we stay at the track wherever we're going, I keep the RV fully stocked with food, so I always want to make sure that's good to go, as well as clothing. But I keep my RV stocked like my house, so it's got its own set of clothing too, so I don't have to worry about that. But more than anything, I guess for me, when we're getting ready to go racing, until the car is loaded and the trailer is hooked up to the RV, I'm kind of on the edge. Once we get everything hooked up and we're starting to go down the road, that's when I feel like I can breathe and we're good to go.
Now, what are your favorite tracks to run on?
My favorite tracks, believe it or not, this may sound crazy based on my history, but Norwalk has to be. It's a beautiful track. It's a great facility. Fantabulous ice cream. Just have to say that. And then after that, I'd have Cordova and Ohio Valley. I've only been there once. Want to go back. Would love to go back. But definitely that was another great track to actually be able to race down, to run down. And I mean, I'm not undermining anything like with Joliet. For me, Joliet, it's cool to be sitting underneath the towers, knowing that top fuel cars sat there. That other, the big dogs have been there before you, and just the thrill of starting your car underneath the tower or going down the track such as that, Norwalk being one of them. It just, I don't know. There's just something about that that's phenomenal to me.
Now, you do quarter mile and eighth mile racing?
Just eighth mile.
Just eighth. Have you ever done quarter mile?
Yeah, I used to do quarter mile. I loved quarter mile. My husband, was trying to talk me into eighth mile, and I was like, "What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. It's not enough time." I fought it, and the last time I actually did quarter mile was at Joliet running an NMCA. It was 2015, I believe it was. And then the next race after that, my husband convinced me to try eighth, And now I'm the opposite. I get it. I get what the challenge is with the 8 Mile. You know, the whole spiel, you know, people would tell me, well, you're going to, you know, you're not beating up on parts as long and less fuel and stuff. But there's also the flip side. There's you have half the amount of track. So, you know, everybody was 1320, now you're at 660, that you have to get your act together. Either you get after it right out of the hole and you get on it, or you're done. I mean, you don't have that extra real estate. You know, you spin off the line and you don't catch it right away. You don't have that extra real estate at the top end, you know, that extra 660 feet to catch up to the guy. I mean, you know, there's so many times quarter mile where you would see that somebody would spin on the starting line, but, you know, they had enough that they could catch up, get around the other car. It's not like that with 8 Mile. I'm very much hooked on it. I walk on the treadmill every morning, I exercise, and I actually watch YouTube videos, and I will come across quarter mile, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Mike. Oh, I remember those days. These passes seem forever now compared to, you know, 8 Mile.
Yeah, you ran quarter mile at Great Lakes Dragway, right?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, some people, like you said, they say it saves on wear and tear on the car doing 8 Mile, and then you got some people say, oh, but at 8 Mile, that's when you're ready to accelerate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it all depends on the person.
Yeah.
So now, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from, like your fire suit, helmet, and everything?
My fire suit is actually from DJ. They're out of California. Awesome people. We were introduced to Ben from DJ. It was PRI December 2016, actually, because we knew that we were going to upgrade fire chutes. I was going to go to a 15-layer just based on, you know, what happened to me. And, of course, my husband, he's going to run alcohol, so he had to upgrade, too. And we're actually friends with Dina and Andrew Parisi, and had been talking to them about it. And Dina's the one who took us over and introduced us to Ben. And he, phenomenal, did a great job. He measured us right there on site. Made custom suits for us. I've got yellow in my suit. It's black suit with like yellow stripes down the leg. He did a custom embroidery on the back of our logo. Put names on our suits. It just knocked him out of the ballpark. My helmet is not from Summit. Didn't do anything special. Obviously, I did get a new helmet after the accident. But yeah, I love DJ Safety. Actually, if those of you that do watch Street Outlaws, the TV show, and the No Prep Kings, if you notice Mike Murillo, he actually wears one of their suits. He has their logo on the back of his jacket. Phenomenal people, great, love them. They took care of us, got us our suits on time, and they fit like gloves.
All right, now what kind of tires are you running on a new car?
I'm sorry, what colors?
What kind of tires are you using on this?
Tires. I'm still going to do 275. I'm not changing. I'm sticking with those. Those are my tires, and I'm going to be stubborn, just with the nitrous, not giving up my nitrous either. I'm going to prove to people it can still be done.
So do you have anything up your sleeve for this year?
This year we're making just some small modifications for the car. Like I said, we're going to commit to running Extreme Street. Extreme Street for NMTA is actually following the Ultra Street rule, so I will be out for running Ultra Street classes. Again, on the 275 tire. We've got a new hood for the car. I can't run the Scoop in Ultra Street, so we've got a new hood that we've bought that's actually getting fitted for the car, and we'll have to get it over to Phil Delaney at Rage Wraps. Making some nitrous solenoid changes also for that. as well as exhaust changes. You can't run the bullhorns for Extreme Street. And then some, little secrets, speed secrets that we're going to try this year. All legal, all within the rules, but see if we can't maybe shake some things up in Ultra Street and run with those guys. They're running. Lou just ran 460s down at the Bradenton race for NMCA, so hopefully we'll be able to hang with them, maybe even reset the record for, even if it's just for a weekend.
Okay, now, what would you consider to be the milestones of your drag racing career so far?
My milestones, I'm definitely going to go with Milan, Michigan. When I won the Wally, running the drag radio class with NMCA. That was August 2011, to be exact. I went to that event, never thought that I would actually win the event. I was running against Jason Lee. I knew he was number one in the country at the time. He was like the top dog. And I'm still shocked by the fact that I won and that I have, I'm looking at my NHRA Wally right now. That definitely is a milestone for me. And getting back in the race car, like I said, I never had a hesitation. I never had a qualm about it. But I know there were several people out there that doubted that I would do it or could do it and do it without hesitation. And for me, that's a big step. When you get back into a car after an accident, any accident, but then an accident like that, that's a huge milestone.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask you a few fun questions here. You ready for a few fun questions?
Let's do it.
Do you have any hobbies outside of drag racing?
There's life outside of drag racing? Yeah, I do. I actually enjoy reading, as boring as that may sound to some people. And I like kind of fiddling in my yard, and I like sleeping. I don't know if that can be considered a hobby, but I'm a fan of it.
Now, do you have a greatest competitor out there in drag racing?
A greatest competitor?
Like Jerry, maybe Jerry Constados? I don't know.
Jerry's more of a fun thing between Jerry and I. I'd say between you, me, and the fence post, but the fence post is, whoever is listening right now. I'm gonna say my husband. We like to joke back and forth, but right now I am faster than him. I realize that may be a mute point as the summer goes on and he gets his car out. But I'm going to say my husband, but in a good way.
That makes me think about Jennifer Soper going against her husband, Joe.
Yeah, Joe, yeah.
Yeah, so how many total, trophies and plaques and all that stuff have you won in your career?
I don't know. I've got the Wally. I've got a runner-up from when the Moores series was around. God, I don't know if you consider it a trophy, but I did do 2 top 10 finishes with the NMCA in the Street Outlaw class where, back then they gave out jackets. I've got jackets. And then I've got top 10 finish when True Street was at the Grove. I finished number 2 in points. And then same thing for MDRA. They run primarily out of Byron. As far as event wins, all I've got is my Wally, my little friend Wally.
All right. So, what's your favorite food to eat?
My favorite food? Oh, this is really going to shock a lot of people, because I don't post it enough or anything, and it's that time of year. But Pete's, I love Pete's.
Favorite beverage?
I'm going to go with Pepsi.
Favorite music?
You know, it depends what day. I love country music. I love old school country music, though. Willie Nelson, Hank Williams, Merle Haggard. But there's days where, you know, I get that rock and roll side of me, and I got to listen to Guns N' Roses and AC/DC.
Okay, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
What's been your most embarrassing moment at the track?
At the track?
Yeah, like on the track racing, did you have anything happen to you?
I mean, other than my accident?
Well, that's not embarrassing.
That's true, that's not embarrassing, you're correct. I don't, at the track, I'm drawing a blank on that. I'm sure, give me about an hour after we get done with this conversation, I'll have a list of them. You know what? Yeah, I do. It was last year, Cordova. With the new car, the trans brake button is on my steering wheel. On the old car, I had the cheetah shifter, and the trans brake button was on the shifter. So that was a learning curve for me last year. Anyhow, so I'm up on the starting line, right? I've got my finger on the button. I roll through the beams, red light. I lose first round. And I'm like, I pull off, I make my pass, the other car goes, I just motor down the track. I'm embarrassed. Dave's like, well, no big deal. And I'm like, no. It's not me, Dave. It's the button. It was the button. The button's not working, Dave. It was the button. The button doesn't work. We got to put it back on the shifter. Dave's like, well, let's just try it. Well, let's get out of the way here. We'll see what happens. And I'm like, I'm going to prove to him, right? I'm all right. I'm going to show this guy who's boss. And I get in the car. And I push the button, car's in neutral, and David's sitting next to me in the golf cart, and I just look over, and for anybody who knows him, he's got this smile, just a certain smile, and he looks at me with that smile, and I'm sitting in the car, and I let off the gas, let go of the button, and I look at him, and I give him that cutthroat motion, and I'm like, I tell him not one word. I don't want to hear one word out of your mouth about the button. And I'm like, drove the car back to the pits, and I left him sitting there in the golf cart. But for me, it was embarrassing because it wasn't the button, it was me. And then to prove it all off, he was actually right, and I was wrong.
All right. So now the best way for people to find your schedule would be on the Buckley Motorsports page on Facebook?
Yeah, the Buckley Motorsports page. We're adding a few more to our calendar now, so we'll be updating the complete list by this weekend.
All right. Do you have any final words, thank yous you want to do before we close out?
Yeah, my biggest thank you goes to my husband. He's always been there for me, always supported me, never doubted me, never underestimated me, and never made me feel like a piece of shit with my accident or anything. Never once. Even after I trashed his dream car, he still never, ever put me in a position, made me feel anything. My other thank yous, go to people such as Phil Delaney for the wrap on the car, Gino Cavallo for his support, CIT, and then to a few close friends who do support me and who are there for me. They may not physically be there for me all the time, but they are there. Would be Patty Fitz. Anybody who knows her should know her. She was Bobby D's wife. I was very close with Bobby D. Still miss him to this day, but Patty's always been right there for me. Aaron Brosh, behind the scenes, always giving me words of encouragement. Tina Buccaro has always been there. Jeanette Desjardins, Car Chicks, for sure, has always supported me and again, been there for me.